Welcome back to the Ed Show. There are tough times on Main Street. Unemployment reached double digits and small businesses are struggling to stay alive. But there is a party raging on Wall Street. Today, the Dow hit, 52-week high. And the big three, that's just, they went out and got after it as well. You see, they decided to give out a record reward of bonuses. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley will be handing out $30 billion bonus dollars this year. By the way, that's a 60% increase on their bonus payouts from a year ago. Joining me now is Congressman Barney Frank, chairman of the House Committee on Financial Services. Congressman, good to have you on tonight. I guess a news flash here is you can't do anything about this, can you?
Well, we can do a couple of things. First of all, and let's not lose sight of this, we can tax it. Let's not forget that. George Bush came to power and got Republicans to vote to reduce taxes. In the House bill that we passed on health care, one of the differences we have with the Senate is we finance a large part of it, I don't think enough of it, by a surtax on upper-income people.
But doesn't that miss the point, Congressman? I mean, we dished out billions of dollars to Wall Street, and they're doing the bonus dance right now. That wasn't in the fine print, Barney. You know that.
Ed, don't condescend to me, and I disagree with you.
I'm not condescending to you. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of the story.
I disagree with you that recovering a large percentage of that in taxation is wrong. I think liberals are missing a boat here because we ought to be pushing for that surtax. We shouldn't be letting them get away with this. Secondly, we have legislation pending. We tried to do this in 2006 when the Republicans in power. We did it in 2007 in the House. We couldn't get it through the Senate. I'm convinced we'll get it now. One of the things we do is let the shareholders vote.
Congressman, why can't you just admit that this was a serious misstep on the part of the Congress? You forked out billions of dollars to save the economy. I get all that, to get the structure back going again. But you didn't ask him any questions about how this is going to go. Oh, tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong, and I'd like to be able to explain it. First of all, we believe the shareholders, if they could get to vote on this, would be rejecting it. Say on pay, and we work with the AFL-CIO on this and other investors, they have big chunks of this. They would not be voting to allow these large amounts to go through. We've been trying for 3 years to get that through. We're going to get it through this year. Secondly, we did put into the economic recovery bill when we had a president ready to sign it, and Chris Dodd deserves the credit for that, the restrictions that Ken Feinberg had that did cover the people who were getting TARP money. We now have legislation pending that will have the shareholders vote on whether or not they can get these bonuses, and I believe the shareholders will be opposed to it. And we also give the regulators the mandate to put some restrictions on those bonuses that cause the disincentives. But I also disagree with you that taxation is beside the point.
Well,
because
you can tax anything.
Yeah, and we should tax things, and I think you're making a mistake by poo-pooing taxation. That's a major way to recover that.
I think I'm making a mistake because I think that you can't tell me that 119,000 people on Wall Street just happen to qualify for $250,000 bonus here. Now, come on.
I'm not telling you that. I was against it.
But that's what it is. But that's what's happened right now, Congressman.
That's because we voted. That's because we tried to get a bill through to let the shareholders vote. And I think you are underestimating the extent to which shareholders, pension funds, and others, state governments, etc., would vote against this if they had the right and not be leaving it up to the board of directors. You are underestimating the extent to which Ken Feinberg did reduce some of them. The ones that you mentioned are the ones that paid back the TARP money. The ones that got the TARP money, Bank of America and Citicorp, are restricted. But finally, I'm just baffled by your almost hostility to taxation of people who are making these large amounts of money. That's one of the ways we get it back.
I do believe in fair taxation. There's no question about that. I'm not in favor of the Bush tax cuts. They should have never been passed. But I'm talking about TARP dollars that are going out, that have gone out, and these guys have gone back and just operated the same way they did before. They've had the same financial pay structure. And by the way, we didn't have a say in any of this until after the fact. That's the only point I'm making on this.
Well, the point I have made to you several times is that that's partly because the Republicans were in power and rejected some of what we tried to do with say on pay, which you're neglecting. I believe we will get that put into law. Thanks to the legislation, the amendment that was put into the economic recovery bill, Ken Feinberg was able to put some real restrictions on those getting TARP money.
Can we come to this conclusion, Congressman, that maybe the Congress just didn't realize that these guys were going to have I guess you could say, the guts or whatever you want to call it, to go back and operate the same way they were operating before.
Not the whole Congress. Ed, I don't understand how you can ignore what I'm saying.
I'm talking about Wall Street, Congressman. I'm talking about how there was no oversight the way these bonuses are being dished out.
Oversight.
What you're talking about is after the fact.
No, I'm not talking about after the fact. In 2006 and 2007, we tried to pass the law that would have put say on pay. I don't understand how you can keep just neglecting that. Secondly, we did put some oversight in there. We instructed the Bush administration to do it. They refused, and early in the Obama administration, we did get this language that Ken Feinberg used to cut them back. But the point I'm making now is the people you were talking about are post-TARP. And when I'm working on is legislation that deals with all financial institutions, because pretty soon there won't be any TARP recipients left, and it's important to focus on them. That's say on pay, that's restrictions on bonuses, and that's taxation.
All right, so I don't want to leave this interview without any misconception for our viewers. You're okay with the bonuses right now. I mean, I am
not okay. Ed, you are totally wrong.
No,
I am not okay. I don't understand. I wanted to have the shareholders be able to restrict them. I'm trying to get legislation to stop it. How can you say that I'm for it? What's the matter with you?
Nothing's wrong with me.
Well, you're distorting the facts.
I just know that credit's tight for small businesses. I know that there is a double standard that is out there, and the American people are seeing more grease into the skids on Wall Street.
And we are trying to pass legislation.
Well, you shouldn't have any problem with it now, Congressman, because you got the White House, the House, and the Senate. You can talk about 06 and 05 and everything else, but you got the teeth to do it now.
And that's what I told you was about to happen. We have passed this in the House. We have restrictions on bonuses. We have restrictions on say and pay. And unlike you, I think taxation is also important.
Well, I think it is important, too.
No, you poo-poo it. You said that's beside the point. You said it was beside the point. I don't think higher taxation on the super rich is beside the point.
I didn't say that. Wait a minute.
You said that was beside the point.
I said for fair taxation. That's what I'm talking about.
You said it was beside the point.
I don't think that 119,000 employees just happen to show up and do such a hell of a job they get this kind of bonus structure. And the fact is there was no controls on these TARP money, and you know that.
No, there was TARP. There was no control on the TARP money until Obama came in, but Ken Feinberg did cut back, and the people you just cited are in the non-TARP category right now. There are restrictions in the TARP area. What I want to do now is to extend those restrictions so we have them whether people pay TARP money or not, and that's in the bills we're pushing.
Congressman, we'll have you back when it all heats up again. I appreciate the conversation. Barney Frank with us here tonight on The Ed Show.